Hello, good evening. Welcome to Southern District Wheelers Friday Frenzy number 9 on ZMS and Esports Television. This is round 9 of 10, so one more to go. And this week we're at Cyclopark, which is out in Kent, to the east of London. It's a closed circuit, often used for crit-style racing. It's not going to be a lot of climbing. It's, as I say, a crit-type circuit. Have a look at those bends. So watch this one. That left-hander, another left, hairpin around those corners. I've seen more than a few stacks on those corners. And you might have noticed just at the beginning there's also a hairpin at the very near the start of each lap. And it has a little descent on it, which in real life is quite hairy. But it's a great course, very fast course. I think in total it's 20 kilometers and only about 174 meters of climbing. So it's 8 laps, so it's about 15-20 meters of climbing on each lap, just really as you come up to the finish. The finish is the slight uphill, but not enough. This should be one for the sprinters. It's definitely not a climbing course, unlike next week, but more of that later. So I believe we have more than 70 riders in the pen, and probably more to come in the last minute or so. So we've got just over a minute to go before we start. And it's round 9, so one more round to go, and things are very, very tightly poised. We'll see when we go on the line who is actually there. But Series R at the moment is Wout Hartveld, very closely followed by Nick Greenhill and John Beams. John missed last week. John was very involved in the Tour du Monde, but he's here this week. I see his name there. We also see Fleming Bart. Tim Cook is also quite high up. I think he's just outside the top 10. But he will do well in a race like this because it will be rewarding people with a lot of power. I imagine Nick, if he's here tonight, will also do extremely well. He's a great sprinter, and this finish will suit him very well. Wout as well is also an excellent sprinter. So they'll be looking to get as many points as they can. It's best of 7 out of 10. So Wout, Nick and John are very close together, 585, 553 and 548. So any other good result can do well. And look at all the people we have in the Zoom room. If you can, give us a wave. Well, we're going to start. There we go. We'll go back to the Zoom room later on. So we're starting off. It'll be a fast start. I imagine there will be a big bunch that stays together, but it will require a lot of effort and attention on some of these turns. So we're going to come down to this very first sharp turn. And one of the things on Argentile, the draft, is that very first sweeping turn. This is one that goes slightly down and then slightly up. So if you're first into that turn, you can really power away. And obviously the people coming around behind you have trouble. And to some extent, that's true in, there's King, Wayne, there. He'll be doing well in this. I did a TTT with him last night. How he's doing it again tonight, I have no idea, but well done, King. Turns in real life and on RGT, always difficulty. You've got to pay attention in the turns. Sometimes you can just get thrown out to the side on the turns, and you really have to sprint out of it. So this will be one of those races where you'll be burning a lot of matches, not from climbing, but from trying to keep up on the turns as they go through, because you will inevitably get thrown to the side and maybe lose a bit of the draft and have to push. And really the race winner, or the strongest people who will be contesting the end of the race, will be those who can burn as few matches as they can, or those who have as many matches left at the end. So there we see Tom Moss, and Warren Gardner are also there, both in the Southern District Wheelers kit with the red, black and yellow. There's a mini competition, and we've got Warren and Tom and Simon from Southern District Wheelers. They're all doing their race. There's a mini race, that was what I was trying to say, within Southern District Wheelers to see who finishes top, and that is also very close. I can tell you, I did have it up before, but Warren, I think, is just ahead of that, of Daniel Neugebauer. So there's a bit of local, bragging rights, intra-club bragging rights to go here. So Casper Hetterdam there, very strong Danish rider. There's always a big Danish contingent in these races. I saw Rasmus Feldballer, who won a fantastic event last week with a very strong, perfectly timed breakaway. There's a little climb there. It's 3.9. It goes up to 8%. So I don't remember that in real life, but it's a very short. You just power straight up as long as you've got some speed going into that little climb. Nobody should have any trouble, and I don't imagine people getting distanced too much. It's another one of those match burners. It's just before, it's about 500 meters or so before the end of each lap, before the finish. So if you can push up there, you might get enough, but I still think it'll come down to a mass sprint finish. And sure enough, yeah, we saw Casper there putting a bit of effort up that little hill, but the bunches stayed with him. It will drop a few people. Every lap, a few people will drop on those little pushes, those little climbs, because they just, not because of the climb itself, but just because they will have used up their matches and they don't have any more to burn. So at the moment, I think we've still got a pretty decent bunch here as we go through the finish line for the first of 8 laps. A bit of a gap there, but it will come back together, I imagine. So we've probably got a group of, trying to estimate, maybe 25, 30 riders in that front group. A little bit of a gap here as we come down to this first corner, but I think they will pick it up again. Once you go through this corner, there's a little rise, and then it's a long, twisty downhill into that sort of L foot shape at the bottom. So we've got, there's Wout Hartveld, our series leader, winner of some previous races and doing very well consistently throughout. He's made sure that he's covering any attacks. He's not going to let anybody get away. Rasmus Feldballer there, John Beams, Jonathan, I think, Summit. So John and Wout making sure that they're not letting anybody get away. Who else is with them? Yeah, what are we looking at? The power of Wout now. So 370, 380. Yeah, taking a bit easy. This is as they come over this little rise. So now they have a little twisty descent going down to the first corner. So it's a bit of a recovery time. So Wout playing it clever there, making sure he tucks in. He's got a bit of draft. He's getting a bit of recovery as they come down. Very sensible. So you can see the numbers down there going down to like 1.4, 1.5. The sensible riders will be trying to get as much recovery on these little downhills as they can before they have to come back up again. As I've said before, one of the top rules of racing, never do anything you don't have to. And if you don't have to pedal, you don't have to put effort down these descents down these little downhill anti-drags, then you try not to. So we come into the first of the little hairpin at the bottom, and we've still got a decent, there's a few gaps showing, but people are still pretty much together. So who else have we got in the zoom in? We've got John Beans. We saw John there. He is up in the top 3 and we're looking for a good result. Dave Garge, haven't seen him in the zoom in before. Apologies if you've been here and I just haven't noticed, but he's looking like he's putting in some big effort there. He's got the headphones on. Warren's going to give us some pain face. Wow, Warren's making big efforts. This is, like I said, it's a lot of match burning on this course. You're constantly having to accelerate. So it'd be interesting to follow the power numbers for a little while or see what they're going up to. Because I imagine out of these corners, they're probably going up to 400, 500 watts, only for a few seconds. But it tells after a little while. There's Casper putting in, Casper put in effort before, so he's putting in a bit of effort here. So there, John there, yeah, putting in over 400 watts, 450, 500 watts to make sure he doesn't get gapped and doesn't lose any wheels going up that little rise. And that's going to be happening 3, 4, 5 times on each lap. And it as I say, takes quite an effort, takes a lot out of your legs over time, and really builds up, and you burn those matches. So the race will go, there's Tim putting in 500, 600 watts. Tim also did a TTT in the same team as me last night, and I believe he did it the night before. So amazing. But Tim is a very strong rider, has a fantastic power output. There's Tom Gaeks from the Netherlands. He's been doing well in some of these races as well. We've seen him up the front animating some of the races. I see Nick just behind there, so Nick is in here as well. very sensibly staying out of the way. Wouldn't surprise me if so. Clever rider like Nick, was barely seen during most of the race and turned up for the sprint. That's exactly the type of race you want on a course like this. Not let anybody see you, not even get your nose in the wind, and turn up just at the right time on the last lap. So we've done 2 laps now. We came through the finish. We saw one of the groups just behind coming through the finish, and we're coming down now again to this first little hairpin just after the start line. Casper headed on there, making sure he's at the front. He's putting in some big red numbers there. That's good. Oh, there's Tom has dropped off that bunch there. It must have got gapped on one of the corners on one of the hills. So he's in 21st place. I think that is probably. There's Tom still pedaling away, still putting in decent effort. And I think he's just come over that rise, which is why his numbers have gone down there. But so it probably means that front group now is, if Tom was in 21st place, I think he might be the first behind the front group. Probably means we've got a group of about 20 up front. So who else have we got in the zoom in? Jake Thomas there. There's Rasmus that we mentioned before. So it's a pretty quality Zoom room. Thanks for volunteering to show your pain faces on the Zoom room, guys. It really adds a lot to the coverage, so we can see all the efforts that you're putting in. So we're seeing riders now not being lapped, but we're seeing riders coming the other way. It's Nick from Ratio Racing there is putting in some effort. We got down the bottom of the hill. We're going through those corners. He's putting in 350, 380. There, see the power suddenly goes up over 400 as he makes sure he goes around that corner and stays in a good position. He's around now, so he can ease off, have a little bit of a recovery before he needs to put in the next effort. And there's Casper again. He is absolutely, maybe you watched Rasmus last week and figures that if a Dane puts in the effort at the right time, he's going to do well. He's certainly making sure that he is going to be at the front of this race and animating the race. And there you go, he's getting a bit of recovery. That's good. That means he can keep putting in those efforts. And going back into the red now as you go up this little slope. Well, the last 2 times we've been around here, I think Casper's been at the front. Now he's still near the front, but top 10 rather than top 1. So, oh no, there he goes, back to the front. I spoke too soon. He obviously likes that little rise, or he's certainly making sure that he is not going to lose any distance. And we're starting to lap some of the riders now on a 2.5 kilometer course. It's inevitable after a while that riders will be lapped. So we're seeing a group here behind. We see a few names there: Brooke Gravel, Walker, and group, what are we down to? We're sort of low 20s, 30, 32, 33, 34 I see there. So that's a group, where are they? They're about 40 meters, I think, behind, if I'm reading those numbers correctly. They're about 40, 50 meters behind the lead group, maybe a little bit more. So we've still got this group of about 20 up the front. Hopefully, I think things seem to have settled down a bit now. I mean, nothing ever really settles down on a course like this, because as I say, you've always got those corners, little uphills. You certainly can't turn off for a moment, but we seem to have a settled group to come into that first hairpin of about 20 riders who are comfortable is probably not the right word to use, but they're staying together. They're all quality riders who are capable of sticking in this group until the end. So we're seeing sort of multi-screen here. So Rasmus, is this Rasmus making a move in the top left? He's still got he's got 12 kilometers to go. That's quite a while, but Rasmus putting in some big numbers now, over 6 watts per kilo. He's getting a little bit of a gap, 46 meters. Yep, we're going to see Rasmus on the zoom. Oh my God, look at that. That is a pain face. That is pain. Come on, Rasmus. He's got the overhead fan going. I assume he's got a fan in front of him. Wow, that's some fantastic effort Rasmus is putting in there. He's eased off a little bit. Tim is joining him. So Tim Cook has bridged across, is on Rasmus's wheel. So that's 2 very, very strong riders with a bit of a gap, only 30 meters. I think it really is too early and going to be very difficult to keep this away. I mean, Rasmus made a perfectly timed tactical attack last week, but if I recall correctly, it was with only a couple of kilometres to go. Staying away on a course like this for 12 kilometres, super difficult. And yeah, as I thought, the bunch has pulled them back in. So that was a big effort. John there, he was one of the first reeling that attack back in, looking pretty comfortable. But well done, Rasmus. Hopefully he's got some matches left to animate it later on. He's seen what can happen. He's seen, you know, part of racing on a course like this, particularly if you're not familiar with the courses, is testing out, seeing what happens when you do things on certain parts of the course. Can you get a bit of a gap, and can you hold that until the end? So a little bit of a tester there, I think, for Rasmus. It's certainly, Rasmus is such a good quality, good, strong rider. It's not going to be the end of him. So he'll sit back, take a bit of recovery. So we're seeing a group now of about 25 down to 32. There's Mike Adey there. More Danish ride, Brooke Gravel. I saw Aussie King in there. Roy Neild. There's a Southborough jersey there, but I didn't catch the name. So was it Sean Murta? Yeah, so a little bit of a group here of, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 8, 9 riders. Working well together, making sure that they stay not too far away from the front group. Can't quite get a sense of exactly the distance, but we'll see if we get to one of the front riders. So they're just hitting the front. They're just hitting that little rise coming up to the line now. So Wout Hartveld is at 10.2, and these guys are at 10.6. So there's about 400 meters now between the front group and this. It's probably a couple of riders in between, I suspect. But we'll call this Group 2. So Group 1 definitely away. They've got a 300-400 meter lead. That's not going to change, but it'll be a matter of who can stay in this group of about 20 riders for another, I think, 4 laps. So they will, I think, have just gone through the finish line and be now coming. Yeah, they're coming around now into that hairpin. So they're about halfway through their race. Actually, a bit over halfway through their race. So we've done 4 laps of 8 with 4 to go. So there we're seeing a good overhead shot of the group. John Beams, Warren Gardner's still in there. That's a good result. If Warren can stay in this, then that could be decisive in his Southern District Wheelers competition. And doing well overall. Warren is actually in 4. I mentioned the top 3. Warren is actually in 3rd place overall, closely followed by Daniel Neugebauer of Southern District Wheelers. So Warren is on 4:54, so a bit of a gap between him and the 3rd place, nearly 100 points, and you get 100 points for a win. So hard to see that being made up, but he'll certainly be trying to make sure that none of the other Southborough riders go past him. We're seeing some numbers there from Tim Cook, having a little bit of recovery, 270, believe me, Tim Cook, 270 watts. That is absolutely recovery for Tim. He can do a lot more power than that. Tim, very comfortable sitting on 400 plus watts for extended periods. So we're still seeing your Doris Sheppers in there. And there's Warren Gardner, Oostergaard, another of the Danish riders. Looking to see who that... Mark Rowbottom, also a very strong rider, good time trialist. There's Warren, seeing his numbers here, 330, 340 as we come around that corner. John making sure that he's not gapped on the corner and is in good position. And here we go again, Casper, making sure he's to the front. And as we will, I think, be coming up to that little rise where Casper likes to make sure that he is there. So we're seeing on the right, Dave, very animated there. Dave, I know he's speaking to on his microphone. He's got the headphones as well, but he's certainly getting into it, paying attention. Very intent face. There, I can't quite tell what jersey. It's not a Southborough jersey, but maybe we'll find out after. Dave Gargilo, Gargilo. So, hi Dave, if you're listening to us, I don't know, but I haven't seen his name on the list, so I'm not actually sure where he is in the race. I know Damien can do some magic with finding out where people are, so let's see if we can work that out. Rasmus is at 7.8. Dave getting a bit of liquid into him there. No doubt it is pouring out. Constant effort. Oh, there he is, number 31, Dave Gargillo. So he's in that, I think, group 2, which is about 400, 500 meters back, working well together, and they'll make sure they finish the race together. So good effort, Dave. Yep, there he is, 24. So he's definitely in that second group. But putting in some decent effort, 300 watts there. I think this group, they're not really racing each other. They're racing to make sure they stay up there. They're making sure they're obviously going to sprint against each other at the end. But it's a nice size group, 8 to 10 riders working well together. Did I see Mike Lister? Is Mike Lister's name there? I'm not sure. Yeah, back to the pain cave, and yeah, Simon there. I had the pleasure, I should say, of meeting Simon at a real life event. It's always nice when you meet people from virtual world, real life. Simon was up competing in a cyclocross race at Herne Hill Velodrome that was put on by my club, Dulwich Paragon. And I live about 15, 20 minutes away from Herne Hill, and it was our race. So I popped over to say hello to Simon after he had done very well in the V40, the Vets 40 race. It was disappointingly not muddy for cyclocross, but yeah, everyone looked to have a good time. Had Samba Band down there, and Simon was getting around representing Southborough. There were a few other Southborough riders there, so it was a pleasure to meet Simon in real life and have a bit of a chat to him. There he is in the Southborough kit. He's got the headphones on as well, pushing away. Again, not sure, I haven't seen Simon's name coming up, but we'll see if we can work out where Simon is. I don't think it's in this front group, but he'll also keep plugging away for the rest of the race. A bit of away from side, he's listening to the broadcast. Hey, Simon. So, where are we now? We have, what's that? Bit over 5 kilometers to go. So, trying to work out where we are on the thing. I think we're down in the foot of the course at the bottom. So, yep, we're coming up to so we're on lap 6 now, I think. Yep, 6 with 2 more full laps to go after this one. So Casper still making sure he's at the front there. We've got, I think it's Christophe Roy. I'm going to take a guess at Christophe anyway. Canadian rider there in the front with John on his wheel, Casper Hederdam, Tim Cook, Rowbottom, Hartveld, very high quality names up the front there, making sure that they're not going to lose any gaps, lose any wheels at this point of the race when it gets harder and harder to recover. Because the thing you have to think about, here we come up to that little rise there, and we'll see them pushing up this little red bit of the course going up here. Yeah, there's Roy going into the air. Oh, look at all those, a whole screen of red numbers as we come up that little rise, and then it will ease off as they come to the finish. That's going to be, I think, the decisive, that certainly on the last lap, if it's still together, will be where Clovis Roy, okay, my Christophe was completely wrong. Sorry about that, Clovis. Yeah, that is going to be the decisive point, I think, where if the bunch is still together, you know, it's a long way out, but it will certainly be I think it'll be the point where somebody makes an attack, but I doubt it will be the winner. I think the people who win will be the ones who go with that attack, and will then pick them up as we come up this little. It's still another, you know, we're still up to 4 or 5% here as we come up to the finish line. So the kicker is there, but yeah, there's the finish line. It'll be that whoever can stay with that attack on the 7-8%, the first one. Matt Looker of 3R, riding under is that an Isle of Man flag there. So he's doing well up in the front of the bunch. I think Matt's 3R. Yeah, there's yeah, that's the no pins, 3R no pins jersey. Yeah. Yeah, it's still got I think about 20 in this bunch. So, you know, as I said before, it's settled There's, I think they're lapping that group behind. I think is lapped, or maybe it's the riders off the back. So yeah, this group of 20 has stayed that way for the last sort of 10 kilometers. Here's Mark, Racio Racing. So they're comfortable. You know, it's not easy. I don't say comfortable in the sense that it's easy, but they're settled in. They know what the course is. They know where to be prepared. Here's Rasmus now putting in another effort. We're going to see more pain kiss from Rasmus. This is where he put in the effort a few laps ago. He's obviously decided that it's a good place to attack. John was ready for it, absolutely ready for it. John has gone with him straight away. Who's that? Samet is chasing them down. And there's already a bit of a gap of 50 meters. The gap looks very big because it's on a little bit of a downhill. So don't get too carried away with the fact that it's a 40-50 meter gap, because as soon as they hit the flat and start coming up again, the 40-50 meters becomes 20 or 30 meters. But still, it's a good effort. There's some big power and some big pain face going into that effort. John always looks unflappable, I have to say. Whatever effort he's putting in, it never looks like it's suffering, which is a great thing in real life, to have that poker face. Remind me never ever to play poker with John. He's putting in some, over 5, we're seeing 400 watts. He's eased off a little bit as we come into that corner, but he'll power again out of it. So this little group here of Samet, Beams and Feldballer have a bit of a gap. As I said, it's gone very quickly back to 30 meters. We'll see how it goes as we come up to this rise. It's a difficult point to try to make, because if you make a big attack here, we've got 3.3 kilometers to go, one more full lap. Nick there making sure he covers that move. Yeah, if you make a big attack here, you haven't got a lot of time left to recover. So what are we doing? We're coming up to 7 laps at about 25 meters. So we're doing about 3.5 minutes, 25 minutes, sorry. We're doing about 3.5 minutes per lap. So if you make a big attack here and you put in a big effort and burn those matches, you're going to be sprinting for the finish in 3 minutes time. So it's a difficult time to make an attack, especially if it doesn't stick. If you make it here, you really have to make it stick. And it looks like it hasn't stuck. I think it's broken up the bunch a bit, but they've been captured, they've been reeled in by a decent sized group. And I suspect they will ease off the power now and the group will come back together. So maybe not the full 20, but we certainly got 10, 11 of that group who will stay together, and well, we'll try it all again on the next one. Who we think it's not going to it's red numbers there. Gates now up to the finish line, so that's really the end of the attacking phase. We come through the finish line the next time we come through the finish line will be the end of the race. So we now come down into this little hairpin, little bit of a rise, and then the sweeping turns go on into the foot of the course. So John Samet there, he's eased off there. And what have we got? 16, 17, 18. Yes, it's still pretty much all that bunch. Maybe 1 or 2 people got dropped in that little flurry of attacks. Rise, nothing stuck. Rasmus put in a big effort. That's his second big effort. Joris Scheppers is back there in Limpopo. So that's a couple of. Joris is a very strong rider. So that's Rasmus will be pleased to have got rid of it. And sometimes in these races, it's just a matter of making attacks and trying to drop people, whittling down gradually. But 20 is a big number to whittle down on. So we're coming into the pointy end of the race now. So Rasmus makes another attack in the same place. You've got to give it, wow, Rasmus. He made a fantastic solo attack and it stuck last week. This time it's repeated attack. So full marks to Rasmus for trying different tactics. Not just one attack, but we've had 3 fantastic attacks from Rasmus. He's got Casper Hederdam, fellow Dane, with him. Could this be a Danish breakaway? Who's on their wheel there? So Warren is chasing them down. Warren Gardner from Southborough is chasing them down. We've got Gates. We've got the big bunch now only about 30 meters behind. So if you remember in the previous laps on that, when they made attacks down there, they had 40 or 50 meters and it's only 30 meters now. So I think they're really going to struggle as they come into the flat here. They've got them in their sights. We're going to come up to this hairpin. They've got Casper and Rasmus in their sights. The bunch, I think, is going to catch them as we certainly come out of this hairpin and into the uphill. And we'll see how much Casper and Rasmus have kept, whether they can keep it going. They're going to the red now, 5 watts, 7. I think we touched 7 watts. Little bit of a gap. Maybe that's 20, 30 meters as we go up. But, oh, that's a long way. They've got 500, 600 meters, 800 meters left to go. It's a long way, and I think the bunch can sweep them up. But somebody has to start making efforts now, because Rasmus and Casper certainly have the power. They're getting a little bit more, 40, 50 meters now. Who's going to be brave? Who's going to make the effort? It's often a judgment. If you make the effort and people are on your wheel, then you get rolled on the line. Somebody's got to make an effort now. The gap is coming back very quickly, 25 meters. They've still got 450 meters left to go. It's mostly uphill, but there's still a 25, 30 meter gap. It's not coming down quickly enough. Nick is coming across. Nick has the sprint power. That's for Nick and Wout coming across. Nick and Wout, I think, are going to catch them. Can they keep it away? So 200 meters to go. Nick powers to the front. As I said, I thought it was a matter of somebody would go away on that first one, and then who would win would be whoever comes onto this 4 or 5%. So we're seeing Wout and Nick powering away. They're coming to the line together. Wout has just rolled Nick on the line about 50 meters ahead, but it's Wout Hartwell and Nick Greenhalgh who take the win. But Rasmus, I think, held on for 3rd place, and Casper in 3rd and 4th place. I think I saw John Beams in 5th, and we'll go back and we'll check. Yep, there we go. So it was Wout and Nick with a perfectly timed sprint finish. Casper and Rasmus, their attack was paid off to some extent. They got 3rd and 4th. It's better than nothing. Ostergaard was in 5th. Fleming Bark in 6th. Lambert, Summit, Beams. Sorry, I thought he was 5th. I thought he was a bit higher, but Beams in 9th place. Matt Looker in 10th, and Joris Scheppers here is just coming up on our screen for 18th. So where is Warren? Warren was 10th. So he's next. Tom Gates, Clovis Roy, Mark Rowbottom, and Tim Cook. So good efforts there all around from that top 15, and we're seeing now the riders come in. We've got D Baggy from the Southern District Wheelers coming in at 20th. I think he was in that bunch for most of the time, but got gapped in those attacks on the second last lap. So Warren it's gone black. He's blacked out. But fantastic effort from Warren, and I think that probably seals his victory in the Southern District Wheel as well. There's still one more to go. We'll see, but I think that it's because it's best of 7. He will take a good lead into that. But great stuff there from Wout Hartwell and Nick Greenhalgh. They will certainly pick up more points for their top 7. If I remember correctly, they had some 60-ish, 60 points. So I can't remember exactly where that is, but this will certainly be an improvement, and will pick up their points. John Beams, 9th, won't get quite so many points for that. However, next week, as we see, there's Keith Aitchison from OTR in 3rd place. Well done, Keith. Keith, a bit more of a climber than a pure power racer. And I think he's also been doing quite a bit of racing lately. So he will. That segues nicely into next week, actually, where they do a climb up a hill that I know very well, one of the steepest and longest climbs in sort of South London and the South sort of Kent, Surrey area, which is basically climb up Toys Hill. And so whoever, I think Wout and Nick will possibly even Casper and Rasmus will struggle a little bit on the climb, whereas John will do very well on the climb. So it's very important and a great result for Wout and Nick to have done well this week and get those points in the bag ahead of next week, when John, I'm sure, will be looking to pick up a podium place. So there we have, I think it's Philip Riley from South District Wheelers. If I'm not mistaken, Phil is the one who compiles all the results. So he will be busy after next week doing all the working out. Although they seem to have a pretty well automated system. If you go to rgtdb.com and look in the current series, you can click onto the link there, and find all the results for all the individual stages, as well as the standings. There are not only the individual standings, there's a team event, and there's also prizes for over, if I remember correctly, over 40s, might be over 45s. Don't take my word for that one, and women as well. And we saw a few of the ladies on the line. I'm looking for some of the names there, but we saw Linda and some of the other ladies. It's usually been a pretty good, strong field of ladies, women riding these races. Just it's a great field. There's, I think it's Stuart O'Grady from previous events. Yeah, I mean, it gets a great, I mean, we're getting so we have 70 riders tonight. We've been getting 70 or more riders pretty much every week. I've done a few of these events now on a Friday night. I like doing them because I know I know these roads, I know these areas, and it's great for me to be able to see the people on the virtual version of roads and courses that I know very well. So we've got getting down now to 49th place, Matthias. We're seeing some of the other events there. Sean Murta there, we saw him, Mike Adey, who were in that second group on the road. Wayne Keith, we mentioned, Wayne Maguire, Johan de Breclear, Philip Riley, Simon Miller, there he was in 37th. So he was just behind Phil, Eric DeMay, Kate Parrish, female rider there, women rider, Egiel Hunnenberg. Apologies to everybody for my pronunciation. There's Wendy Wonderwheels in 57th. I think is going to be coming up to the line soon. So who have we got now? Urs Wudler, Harry Smits, Jake Thomas, Jeff, Harry Brandy, Stuart O'Grady, Frank Bultke, Yuri Gusarov, Lazary Matthias, and Nicholas Persson. So we've got another Isle of Man. We have that many Isle of Man. Mark Cavendish, I guess, is the most famous Isle of Man rider. So strong tradition of riding there. Maybe they just like the flag with the three legs. There's Derry, another of the Southern District Wheelers riders. Southern District Wheelers, based in Tunbridge Wells, which is in Kent, south of London, for those who don't know it. Very strong real-life club, as well as a very strong virtual club, and have really used the sort of events the last couple of years with lockdown and all that sort of thing to really push the virtual side of their club and of their racing and expand that, and have been incredibly successful with it, as the number of riders in this series testifies, the number of riders from their own club who are doing the series, not just the riders from other countries and other clubs and other just individuals who I don't know, I think some of them probably joined virtually joined the club by wearing their jersey. So there's Wendy, I mentioned before, Wendy Wonderwheels from OTR. So above her, Thomas Berthold, James Derry, Martin Jones, Daniel Rossano, Josh Beattie, Yao Pinho, and Ian Davidson, as we come down to 63rd with El Perry. They're about to cross the line, and not too many gaps. I'm not sure what we've got, but I think people will be finishing fairly quickly. That's one of the good things about having a nice flat course without too much climbing. People can stay in groups. See, this rider isn't in a group as he comes to the finish line, but people can, once they're gapped, once they've dropped a group in front, they can find the group and manage to stay together and get a decent finishing time. So, we'll see how we go. I think there's a few people who are further back. So we'll just watch these riders come across the line for this last few events, last few riders, and we'll start to look ahead. So as I said, next week is Toys Hill. Let me just bring that up and tell you a little bit about that. Tonbridge. They start in Tonbridge, which is not the same as Tunbridge Wells. Tonbridge to Toys, it's only 20 kilometers, but it's 334 meters climbing, and that 334 meters is pretty much all at the end. And if I remember correctly, Toys goes up to about 10, well, it depends which route they're taking up, but it goes up to about 10-12%, and it's pretty steady the whole way. So it will be a summit finish. The banners will be out. There's no ski chalets on toys, but certainly the summit finish. There's a very nice cafe at the top. Or am I thinking of Ide Hill? Anyway, it is a climbing finish. It'll be one for the climbers next week. I think there will be a lot more gaps next week, but it should be a great climax. And with 3 riders certainly on the top podium, still fighting for the podium. It'll be interesting to see if Wout and Nick have done enough to hold off John. As we see Linda and Louis cross the line here, it'll be interesting to see if Wout and Nick have done enough to hold off John, and if Warren can keep hold. I'm pretty sure Warren will keep hold of his Southern District Wheelers title, but who knows? Who knows? It's still all to play for in the final round 10 next week. We're just going to see a few more names coming down into 64th. So so we've got some riders who are more than a lap back. So I think we'll probably start to leave it there. As we see Rob G crossing the line. Then we've got 2 kilometers further back. So we'll watch Rob G come across the line, take his moment of glory. I think that's the line that I see ahead, and then we'll wrap up. So thanks for joining us in round 9 of Friday Frenzy. Thanks for joining us in all the previous events. It's been another fantastic race. Thanks to all those riders who joined us in the Zoom cam. That really added a lot, particularly Rasmus. That was a great pain face. Rasmus, congratulations on your 3rd place, but you win 1st place for pain face. So thanks to everybody. Look forward to the final round next week, and I hope you can join us then. Have a good night.